So good day everyone, I am Kriswin A. Tocmo, together with my group mates Jessa-mae A Toroba and Jul Lisanne M. Vellaruz. We're going to report the chapter 12, which is the grading, marking, and reporting systems. Introduction. There have been various researches that indicate the importance of grades and marking and reporting systems on how the student view the teacher learning process. Because of this, teachers and aspiring teachers have to be ready for the task of clearly communicating to students the basis and guidelines on grading as well as the level of performance. So, grades are very important to students and also teachers because grades are indication of the students' performance or how they perform in class. So, aspiring teachers should always be ready kung paano nila i-educate, kung paano nila ipapaalam sa mga students kung paano ginagawa ang grading. Section 12.1 Grading Systems. The Department of Education or DepEd, through its grading frameworks, defines grading as a system of assessment and letter of numerical symbols aimed at relaying a judgment or some traits. So ayon sa DepEd ay grading ay isang type ng evaluation kung saan gumagamit ng numbers and also letters para mag-convey ng judgment or hatol sa isang characteristics or sa isang trait or sa marami pang traits. So according to Inclusure number 2 to DepEd Order number 71, series of 2010, in the school or education context, the purpose of grading systems is to provide systematic and formal procedure for transmitting value judgments made by teachers to students and to others most directly concerned with the students' development and welfare. So according daw sa Inclusion number 2 to DepEd Order number 71 series of 2010, grading system ay ginagamit sa school and educational systems as settings para magbigay ng formal, systematic method of communicating teachers' value judgment to students. So Lloyd, 1997, said that grades and grading system provide a way of communicating evaluations made by teachers regarding a student's academic achievement to the stakeholders. So ayon kay Lloyd, grading daw at ang grading systems ay nagbibigay daw siya ng way of communicating. Ibig sabihin, nagbibigay siya ng parang nagkakaroon ng komunikasyon ang teachers kung paano niya gina-judge, kung paano niya binibigyan ng rate ang evaluation ng isang estudyante regarding nagbe-base sa kanilang academic achievements. Kung paano sila kung paano sila mag-perform sa class or paano sila matuto. For Kennedy 1989 and Hills 1991 found that grades have also been used, whether or directly or indirectly, as means of punishment for inappropriate classroom behavior, lack of effort, and lack of consistency. So, ibig sabihin daw, sinabi ni Kennedy at Hills na ang grades daw ay minsan ginagamit daw niya ng mga teachers as a way to punish the students based on her or his behavior. Kasi kung may ginagawa siyang masama, kung hindi siya nakikinig sa mga students, minsan, not just students but also teachers, kung hindi siya nakikinig tuwing klase, ay of course, ginagamit nila ang grades bilang isang kaparusahan sa kanilang maling ginawa. Principles of grading. With the diversity of the goals included in the school's curriculum, such as the new K-12 curriculum, it would be difficult to choose one grading process that addresses just as diversity. So here are the 4 common principles of grading. First, the system of grading should be clear and understandable to stakeholders, and most especially students. So dapat sinasaad ng first principle na grading daw, it should states na dapat malinaw daw siya at dapat naiintindihan ang grading systems ng mga stakeholders, especially students. Kasi kung alam ng students kung paano kung how the grading system works. Ibig sabihin, alam nila kung paano kinicompute ang grades nila at alam nila kung bakit maliit or bakit malaki ang nakukuha nilang grades. So we have the second principle, which is the system of grading should be communicated to all stakeholders. So of course, if you remember, during the first day of school, teachers nag-o-organ sila. Nagbibigay sila ng of course, knowledge, orientation kung paano kinicompute ang grades natin. Like 60% performance tasks, 40%, 20% written works, ganon. Of course, hindi lang sa students sila nagsasabi nagpapaalam kung paano ginagawa ang grading systems. But of course, during first PTA meetings, bibigyan din sila ng informasyon sa mga magulang or guardians or parents kung paano kinicompute ang mga grades ng mga anak nila. So number 3, grading should be fair for all students regardless of gender, dialect, province, or region, or socioeconomic status. So of course, ang grading hindi dapat nagdi-discriminate ng isang tao. Kahit hindi man kayo magkaparihan ng religion or kahit iba man ang kanyang gender, dialect, kung taga saan man siya ipanganak or kahit ano naman ang kanyang katayuan sa buhay. Dapat ang grading ay patasin sa lahat at walang kindikilingan. Okay, so we have the last principle which says grading should support, enhance, and inform the teaching and learning process. Ang grading ay nagiging batayan nila para mas ipag-igi o may mas ipagbuti pa ang pagtuturo at teaching learning process. So, types of grading. So, in the assigned grades, 2 general types of grading will be discussed. Criterion reference and norm reference grading. So, first, let us discuss the norm reference grading. So, it means are mostly commonly used when easily defined standards are not available. When standards are not clearly defined, it would be too risky to use it totally as a reference of grading. This norm, ibig sabihin ang standard niya ay nasa group. Ang basis ng scoring niya ay is the group, meaning that ang score ng isang person, ng isang estudyante ay nagdidepende kung ano ang nakuha ng buong klase. So, Osterhof 1987 mentioned that if the scores from a criterion reference test are presented in the absence of a well-defined domain, the scores can no longer be given a criterion reference interpretation. So, ayon kay Osterhof na ang scores from a criterion reference test cannot be interpreted using criteria if they are provided without a clearly defined domain. To further illustrate the norm reference types of grading system in the classroom setting, the following simplified steps are presented. So this is based on Cunningham 1998. So we have the first step, which is to specify the criteria. So the initial steps include the specification of criteria that we will use to determine students' grades, such as the number and nature of tests, projects, papers, and performance tasks. So sa first step, sinasabi nito na dapat mayroon tayong specific na criteria na ginagamit natin. Like example, if ang pagbasihan mo ay ang final exam or kaya ang performance ng isang student sa class. So, dapat well-defined siya. Dapat meron talaga tayong binabasihan. Like, example, kung test, we have 50 points. Performance task, merong 50 points. Ganon. So, step 2 is to determine the number of students to be assigned each grade. So, the next steps involves specifying the number of students who are to be assigned each grade. So this is a fairly controversial practice since one might argue that teachers will not be able to accurately determine the number of students who will be assigned each grade before evaluation even begins, and predetermining the number of students who will be assigned each grade is totally unfair. So dito sa pagdetermine na number of students to be assigned each grade ay ginagawa siya ng teacher before pa mag-start ang assessment or before pa mag-start ang evaluation. So, medyo controversial siya na part. Like, for some people and most people, parang ang unfair niya tingnan. Especially to most students. So, in determining the number of each grade to be assigned by settings the cut-off scores, the following factors are to be considered. Example, limit of the teaching sittings, teacher's evaluation of the function of the class, or ang standard ng teacher. So, sa pag-determine ng mga cut-off scores na makukuha ng bawat estudyante kung maglalagay sila ng letter grade. So, ang kini-consider na factors ay una ang limits of teaching sittings. So, nakadepende rin yan kung paano nag-teach ang isang teacher. Kung kompleto ba siya nagagamit ng mga materials or ng equipment habang nagtuturo. Or ang pangalawa niya, ang teacher's evaluation of the functioning of the class. Depende rin yun. For the second factor, step 2, nadidepende siya kung paano ina-evaluate, kung paano sa tingin ng teacher ang kakayahan ng isang buong klase. We have also the standards of the teacher. So of course, isa itong factor na ginagamit ng isang teacher kung paano siya mag-determine ng step 2, which is kung paano siya mag-determine ng number of students to be assigned each grade. Sa kanya, halimbawa, 20% ang makakapunta dito. Of course, dahil may standard siya, yun ang ginagamit niya to do the step 2. So for illustrative purpose, the following example is pretended. So this is based on Groundland 1987. So we have the letter grade A, which is in the scale in percent is equivalent to 90 to 100%. So ang percent ng students na who will receive the letter grade will be 10 to 20%. For B, its scale is 80 to 89. We have 20, 30%. Ang C, its scale is 70 to 79, which is 30 to 50%. And D, 60 to 69, we have 10 to 20%. So the next step is to combine scores from the different criteria. In combining scores to determine a single value that will serve as student's grade, a common practice and common mistake as well is to pins and weights for each of the inputs. So halimbawa nito ay nakikita ninyo ngayon sa screen. So we have ganito yon. So for example, student A, ang kanyang class participation score, which is 25 points, meron siyang 16. Ang kanyang final exam, which is 73. So, ang kanyang total points ay 89. So, kung titingnan natin sa grading system, ay 89 is equivalent of 1.50. So, next, Jessica, 24 plus 71, 95, which is equivalent to 125. For Venice, we have 19 plus 72 equals 91, which is equivalent to 1.50, 1.5 rather, 1.50. Under CISO, 13 plus 73, we have 86, which is 1.75. And last, we have Jelly, which is 9 plus 74, equals 83, which is equivalent of 2.0. Step 4, which is to rank the students based on the combined scores. So, ranking the students provides an idea to the teacher or grader who are among the students are low achievers, who are high achievers, and who are in between. So, if makikita ninyo ngayon sa screen, I have put a table, no? Like, for the rank we have Jessica, who got the first rank. Ang total score niya is 95. Rank 2, we have Venice, who have a total score of 91. Rank 3, we have Ayo, who have a total score of 89. And rank 4 for Narciso, who got a total score of 86. And we have Jelly for the rank 5, who got a total score of 83. So we have step 5, which is to assign a grade for each student. The students are assigned a grade based on norm referencing, which means that the grade is more representative of the student's performance in relation to the group than on the learning outcomes set forth. So dahil norm reference grading siya, ang basis of scoring nito ay nasa group mismo. So meaning, kung ano yan makukuha ng isang estudyante, kung ano makukuha ni AU, it depends kung ano ang nakuha ng buong class. More inputs in the step 5 ay we have to substituting the formula for obtaining z-score to the formula to the t-score. Will have t minus score equals x minus mu over standard deviation times 10 plus 50. X stands for the score and mu stands for the mean. And of course, standard deviation. So, we can now assign grades using t-scores by multiplying them by their corresponding weight. So for AO, we have for the class participation score for t-score, we have 49.6. So pag winit siya ng 0.25, we'll get 12.4. So sa kanyang final exam t-score, meron siyang 53.9. Pag if it is weighted to 0.75, we'll get 40.4. So total points 49.6 plus 40.4 will get 50.84. So ang kanyang grade ay 1.50. For Jessica, ang class participation t-score 55. Class participation t-score, we have 65.3. Weighted by 0.25, we will get 16.3. Final exam t-score 34.3, weighted by 0.75, 25.7. So total points 16.3 plus 25.7 will get 42.05. Grade is 2.0. For Venice, we have 55.5, weighted by 0.25, 13.9. So final exam t-score 44.1, weighted by 0.75 will get 33.1. So the total points is 46.96, which is ang kanyang grade is 1.75. Then we have Narciso, which is the class participation t-score 43.7, weighted by 0.25 will get 10.9. So ang kanyang final exam t-score ay 53.9, weighted by 0.75, 4.4. Total points is 51.38. Ang kanyang grade is 1.5. For Jelly, we have class participation score t-score 35.3. Ang kanyang weighted by 0.25 will get 9.0. Final exam t-score, we have 63.7, weighted by 0.75, 43.8. Total points is 56.78. So kanyang grade is 1.25. So for the second type of grading, we have the criterion reference grading. So it's totally different in nature compared to norm references grading. If norm referencing describes the performance of the student relative to others, criterion reference system evaluates students' performance against a predetermined list of what the student should achieve in class. So sa criterion reference system, it is independent of the standard of the group. Ibig sabihin, hindi siya katulad ng norm reference system kung saan ang basihan ay ang nakuhang score ng buong grupo. Dito sa criterion reference grading ay meron siyang binabasihan na criteria. So ang criteria na yon ay yun na magiging basihan ng isang estudyante kung siya ba ay nakapasa o siya ay yun ang magiging basihan ng estudyante if he or she passed or failed na magiging basihan ng estudyante if she or he passed or failed sa kanyang subject. So dito sa college, we have 2.5 or 80.82 nagiging basihan na sa passing rate. But since we are in CTE, passing rate natin is ang passing rate natin is 2.5, which is 80 to 82. The list is based on systemically grafted teaching, a lesson or teaching plans objectives. So, of course, meron din objectives or meron binabasihan ng isang teacher. So, one way to determine the appropriate grade of a student under criterion reference is to find the total number of points possible and set grade categories for each specific percentage levels. So, kung makikita ninyo sa table, we have the abbreviated level of proficiency. So, B, level nitong proficiency, beginning siya. So, kanyang equivalent number value ay 74% and below. For D, developing siya, we have 75 to 70%. AP, which means approaching proficiency, 80 to 84%. For P, for proficient, which is 85 to 89%. A for advanced, which is 90 and above. So the Center for Faculty Excellence of the University of Carolina identified some of the problems it faces. First, it is rational, for the cut-off percentage is usually arbitrary. So the first problems na we faced is if the rationale for the cut-off percentage is usually arbitrary. So ibig sabihin daw, ang katwiran na ginagamit sa cut-off percentages ay minsan hindi na siya masyadong makatwiran. So for the second problem is the system assumes the teacher can construct valid, reliable exams and assignment at consistent level of difficulty throughout the course. So, ina-assure daw system daw nag-a-assure da sa teachers na makakakonstruct sila ng valid, reliable exams and assignment at consistent levels of difficulty throughout the course. And 3, a number of students may achieve a high number of points simply by doing well on many small, less important assignments. So, parang sa for the third problem daw, parang nagiging unfair din siya kasi may mga students na, of course, malaki na nakukuha nilang points because gumagawa lang sila ng maliliit lang na mga gawain like hindi masyadong important na assignments while minsan lumalaki ang kanilang grades kasi they do well, magaling sila sa mga hindi masyadong important na mga things like for their hindi masyadong important na assignments pero mahina naman sila pagdating sa final exam. So see averaging versus cumulative methods of computing final grades. So there are two ways of computing the final grades of students, the averaging method and the cumulative method. So first, let us discuss the averaging method. It treats the students' performances for every grading period or quarter independently. So, ibig sabihin, ang magiging grade ni student sa second grading ay walang kinalaman sa kanyang grade sa first grading. So, example, a student who obtained a set of 84, 87, 88, and 88 from the first to the fourth grading period in the TLE subject will have a final grade of 86.75. So, para makuha ang average grade ni student sa buong quarter, sa buong year level, ay una, kailangan i-add lahat ng kanyang grade simula first grading to fourth grading. So, 84 plus 87 plus 88 plus 88 divided by 4 will get 6.75. So the second method is the cumulative method. It treats students' performance in a grading period partially dependent on their previous performances. Hence, students are directed toward progressive achievements. So dito sa cumulative method, ang grade ni student sa first quarter ay makaka-epekto sa kanyang grade para sa second quarter. Kasi ang tinitingnan ng method na ito ay ang progress ng isang estudyante. So example, if the grade for the first grading is 85 and the tentative grade for the second grading based on several components such as quizzes, periodical tests, etc. is 87, then adding together the 30% of 85 and the 70% of 87 will be yield final grading of 86.40 or 86 for the second grading period. So, dito sa example, makikita natin na ang first grade ni student para sa first grading is 85. At ang kanyang grade second grading ay 87. So, para makuha ang so yung 87 is tentative pa iyon na kanyang grade. So, para makuha talaga ang kanyang final grade for second grading ay kailangan natin i-add ang 30% ng 85 sa 70% ng 87. So, una nating kunin ang 30% ng 85, it is 25.5 plus ang 70% ng 87, which is 60.9. So, makukuha natin ang final grading for the second period, which is 86.40 or 86.
Good day, everyone. I am Jessa-mae A Toroba, your second discussants for today's morning. And my topic that I will be discussing are Section 12.2, the marking system, and Section 12.3, the methods of reporting. Section 12.2, the marking system. What comes first to your mind if you encounter the word marking system? Anyone? Maybe we can say that it's all about our grades, right? So teachers and students are not only ones who are interested in grades. Parents, administrators, and the other stakeholders can also consumers of this data. The method of marking and reporting student grades becomes an important task for teachers. Furthermore, the manner by which value judgments are reposted in an understandable form is essential in most decision-making processes where stakeholders are involved. Well, by doing a marking system, there are four main functions of marking. These are information, guidance, administration, motivation, and discipline, in which grades of every learner the teacher should calculate are not only focuses in one field, maybe in our behaviors, participation, or even performance that was very helpful in every learners. The following are the different types of marking system. First, the letter grade system, in which it's assigned a single Lethel grade or a single number to represent student achievement in each subject. This system might be concise and convenient, but the meaning may sometimes be unclear. Second, the pass-fail system. This type of grading system in its simplest sense is defined as the two-category marking system wherein the information is limited to whether you pass or failed a course of study. This type of marking system provides less information about how a student really perform. And the last one is the numerical system or the percentage grades, in which the grades of every learners came from what percentage they take. Percentage grading system that attempt to identify 100 distinct levels of performance distort the precision, objectivity, and reliability of grades, and the academic performance of students is evaluated and graded at the end of each term in accordance with the prescribed grading system. Section 12.3, Methods of Reporting. In the new curriculum, DepEd mandates that the results of the assessment across levels should be feedback immediately to student, consistent with the principles of assessment as learnings. This can be done in a day-to-day assessment of student through informal ways. A report card is a printed communication of the student performance which is issued by the school vote or the students and their parents. And as we can see in the report card, there are reports on student progress in learning in which it focuses on snapshot about how child is performing in key units of work rather than against the whole curriculum in each learning area. We can see also the report of attendance. The main focus of attendance improvement strategies at the primary and lower secondary school level should be to support improved attendance or a return to a mainstream school setting. Lastly, the progress in student values and attitude. Through this, teachers or even parents can see what characteristic does have their child inside the schools, in which teachers also should aware so that they can take some actions to deal with that learner's characteristics, especially their improvement. And that's the end of my discussion. Thank you everyone, and Miss Jules will be our last discussant.
Good day, everyone. My name is Jul Lisanne M, and I am the last presenter of this chapter. So I will be also continuing the discussion of Miss Jessa-mae. B. Parent-teacher conferences. Parent-teacher conferences overcome the limitations of the report card in terms of providing exact feedback for specific questions regarding students' performance and other related matters pertaining to learner by providing two-way communication between the home and school. So, in basic education, public schools conduct parent-teacher conferences on a Saturday of the month before the end of every quarter. Based on Inclusion Number 2 to Deputy Order Number 10, Year 2013, the conference is intended to apprise the parents of the progress or performance of their children and ensure parental involvement in school activities. So according to Wright, Stegelen, and Hartel, as cited by Velasco, emphasized the importance of parents' involvement in school by citing its effect in students' performance. They also noted that in such cases, children demonstrate heightened achievement scores, perform better in school, and stay in school longer. And also, parent-teacher conferences answer the demand on the school to be interested in the whole of the student's life and other similar practices with unquestionable importance. And now, let's proceed to the section 12.4, which is rating of learning outcomes under the K-12 basic education curriculum based on DepEd Order number 73, year 2012. The K-12 basic education curriculum includes reforms in the area of assessing students' learning. Based on DepEd Order number 73, year 2012, effective school year 2012 to 2013, the standards-based assessment and rating system shall be implemented to support the progressive rollout starting with grades 1 and 7 of the K-12 basic education curriculum in public and private elementary and secondary schools nationwide. So we have first the levels of proficiency. Enclosure number 1 to DepEd Order number 73, year 2012 states that the performance of the students shall be described in the report card based on the following levels of proficiency. So we have first the beginning, or letter B. The student at this level struggles with his or her understanding, prerequisite and fundamental knowledge and or skills have not been acquired or developed adequately to aid understanding. Second, developing, or letter D. The student at this level possesses the minimum knowledge and skills and core understandings, but need help throughout the performance of authentic tasks. And third, we have the approaching proficiency, or AP. The student at this level has developed the fundamental knowledge and skills and core understandings, and with a little guidance from the teacher and or with some assistance from peers, can transfer these understandings through authentic performance tasks. And number 4, we have the proficient, or letter P. The student at this level has developed the fundamental knowledge and skills and core understandings and can transfer them independently through authentic performance tests.
And we have the last level of proficiency, which is the advanced or letter A. The student at this level exceed the core requirements in terms of knowledge, skills, and understandings, and can transfer them automatically and flexibly through authentic performance tasks. So as you can see on the table shows the level of proficiency at which the student is performing shall be based on the numerical value which is obtained after summing up the results of the student's performance on the various levels of assessment. The equivalent level of proficiency as abbreviated below shall appear in the report card. Letter B for beginning, D for developing, letters A, P for approaching proficiency, P for proficient, and letter A for advanced.
So we have also the method of computing the final grade. So the final grade at the end of the 4 quarters shall be reported as the average of the 4 quarterly ratings expressed in terms of the level of proficiency. And third, we have the criteria for giving periodical grades. So the criteria for giving grades in the new curriculum can be drawn from the levels of assessment providing in the debit order number 73, year 2012. As stipulated, the attainment of learning outcomes defined in the standards shall be the basis for the quality assurance of learning using formative assessment, summative assessments, and grading at the end of instruction.
So the learning outcomes are defined by level. We have the knowledge, process or skill, understanding, and products and performances. These levels shall be the outcomes reflected in the class record and shall be given corresponding percentage weights as reflected in the first table. The first table shows the levels of assessment and its corresponding percentage weight. So we have the first level of assessment, which is the knowledge, and it has 15%. Second is process or skills, we have 25%. Third, we have the understanding, which is 30%. And fourth, we have the products performances, which is equivalent to 30%, and in total of 100%. For the purpose of comparison, the 2002 secondary education curriculum's criteria for giving periodical grades is reflected in the second table. So we have the first component, which is the periodical test, and it has 25%. Second is the quizzes, we have 10%. Next is participation, and it has 20%. Fourth, we have projects, and it has 20%. And lastly, we have performance, which is equivalent to 25%. And all in all, they have 100%.
And lastly, we have the promotion and retention. Promotion and retention of students shall be by subject. Students whose proficiency level is beginning or letter B at the end of the quarter of grading period shall be required undergo remediation after class hours so that they can immediately catch up as they move to the next grading period. So if by the end of the school year the students are still at the beginning level, then they shall be required to take summer classes. So that's all for our discussion. We hope that you learned something, and if you have any questions, clarifications, suggestions, you can ask us, or you can type your questions in the comment section. Okay? And thank you for listening, and have a wonderful new year. Goodbye.